Hey everybody, welcome to Everyday Hockey. I'm Dale,
And I'm Greg.
and today we have a special guest, Erica Reeder. This is going to be a really interesting episode today because we're going to cover women's hockey, we're going to cover Olympics, and we're going to cover the journey on how to get there. So Greg,
Okay, well, I'm pretty excited to have Erica on the podcast, and I think I'd like to claim responsibility for most of her athletic prowess, but no, actually, as soon as her mom hears that, I'm going to get a smack in the back of the head. Erica, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
Okay, well, yeah, not too often I hear that when you get on the old video call with Dad, so I appreciate it. Thank you. Erica, you actually have just arrived back from the Olympics, and we're interested to hear about your experience traveling to the Olympics. Now, you were going not as an athlete this time, but as a spectator. So tell us about your preparation leading up to the leaving for the games, and a little bit about your experience over in Milan.
Yes. Okay. So I went with 3 other teammates. We went to go see a couple of other teammates that I have here playing here in Lulea. We have 2 Finnish players, a Japanese player, and then an Italian player who was actually the captain for Team Italy. And so back in October, we knew they hadn't announced the rosters yet, but we were pretty certain that they would be on their Olympic teams. And so we booked the trip and thought, kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity to, just being in Europe and the games being in Italy, it'd be sort of a short trip down south. So preparation leading into the games, a little bit of a hobby of mine is sewing. So I thought it would be really nice to have some sort of attire to wear in the crowd, just to show some support for our girls. And, obviously it would be so nice to be there and for them to see that we're there, but to really, show the locals who we were cheering for. So I typically like to do a lot of my sewing projects with secondhand material, just because I don't think it's necessary to always buy brand new fabric. And so I went to the Red Cross just close to my apartment here, and I actually found just a pretty basic red blanket, cut it up into 6 different strips or whatever it was. And I made scarves for everyone with different names and numbers on them just to show our support. And so I'll get to that, but that turned out to be a hit. I will say that was a hit for many reasons. So anyways, that was sort of part of my preparation. I also did make a pair of pants, which I can get to, but it had all of the flags on the sides of the outside seam, and those became a big hit as well. So that was sort of my prep going into it. We left on Thursday morning, got to Milan at noon, and then we were supposed to see the Finland-Canada game that night. That ended up being postponed until this week because the Finnish national team got norovirus. So they were in quarantine and sick, and it was not good. So we didn't see that game, which we were pretty gutted about, because that was obviously Canada versus Finland. That's always a good matchup.
Okay, and so Erica, just to clarify then, you had 2 teammates that were on that Finnish team.
That's right. We have Jenni Hirikoski and Petra Nieminen, elite players. Elite.
Hirikoski, isn't this like her 4th Olympics, or?
I'll have to double check. I think this is number 5 for her.
Oh, number 5. Wow.
Yes. She was born 1987, if I'm correct on that. And she's a beast. And I actually am lucky enough to play with her on her line here in Lulea. And, her specifically, Nieminen too, But when I was in university, I heard about Lulea Hockey, and they're famous for being just powerhouses in the Swedish national or Swedish hockey league out here. And you would hear about Lulea Hockey and you knew the names that were here because they were just studs, like so good. So now being here and practicing with them and playing alongside them, I mean, every day I just like, there's something new they do every day. And I'm just like, what, like, how do you do that? Like, it's just so effortless. So I will say I'm very much becoming a better hockey player playing alongside them and being here. But yeah, those two are big names in Finnish hockey. So yeah, that was
unfortunate. You didn't get a chance to watch them, but what games did you get to watch?
So on Friday, we were able to go see Team Japan play Team France. Mm-hmm. And so Akane Shiga, her and her sister play on Team Japan. Mm-hmm. I have become very good friends with Akane Shiga this year. She played on our team last year too, so I guess it's been 2 years. She is someone that came to our team from the PWHL, and she played one season in Ottawa, but prior to that, she had never left Japan. Mm-hmm. So minimal English. She had an interpreter with her at all times in Ottawa, but last year when she came to Sweden, she had no one with her. And so she was taking English classes online, 6 a.m. every Tuesday morning. She religiously studied. I saw her on her iPad, on the bus, on the plane, everything. She was always studying. But I was very intrigued by that. I thought that was super, like, what a confident move to be able to like move to another foreign country where English is not the first language here. Mind you, there's a lot of people, they study English in school, so it's like wildly understood. But for her to really not know much English and then have Swedish coaches, very impressive. So I sort of became her interpreter, I guess, per se. I know very little Japanese, and by very little I mean like she taught me 1 to 10. So I don't know how much interpreting I was doing, but getting to know people that English is their second language, you know, learning what is easier to listen to and what's not, and what accents are really hard to, and if you're mumbling and where you're from in Canada makes a difference. Some teammates are harder for her than others. I've also learned that you really have to slow down your English and really enunciate the words so they can understand. So there's a lot of moments where, you know, our coach will say something and she has a Swedish accent and she's speaking English. So we pretty much all get it, but she'll come to me and she'll say, what's going on? So, yeah.
So that's exciting. Now you got to watch Akane, and in their first game that they played, how did they do?
Japan won 3-2. And I will say that was a big game for me. That was my first Olympic event that I've ever seen like live. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, walking into the venue, I will say being in Milan, mind you, the opening ceremonies were on Friday that night. So technically the Olympics hadn't started officially yet, but games were already happening. But I got this sense sitting on the metro, just in our area of the city, it was kind of like, oh yeah, like there's this thing happening in the city, but like, oh, like there's probably it's just a regular city. People are going to work like normal. You know, it's kind of like, oh, there's a concert this weekend, like some people are going. But for us as athletes and people that are in the sporting world, like this is the pinnacle, like this is the event. How are people not like, come on, where's the commotion? Until I got to the venue, that's when you really saw all the volunteers and like the energy was there and everyone was excited. So when I got into the venue and we were there just in time for them to be like welcoming the teams on the ice, it was like, actually quite emotional, because for me as someone that has, you know, pursued the Olympics, I mean, I dreamed about it as a hockey player when I was younger, and then I tried to switch sports, and like the Olympics in cycling was my goal. And then to be at the Olympics and watching my friends literally live out their dream, like with all of the fans in the stands, like with Japanese flags, with French flags. It was a wild experience. But Japan did win 3-2. I do know the captain on Team France as well, and she scored a goal, which I've seen her journey to the Olympics and just the fight she's had, and that was all. I was also crying in the stands because of that.
So that girl in particular, Laura Baudry, she, she's quite a hockey player herself, and quite a formidable sort of character in that she's 6'3" compared to the Japanese goalie who's 5'2".
Yes, and
Wow.
I will say, being in the stand, having played with her, yes, she is a big girl. Yes. But when people haven't been around her or had never seen her before, the amount of comments I heard, like, look at the captain for Team France. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And
I saw her on television on the highlights. CBC had shown that highlights of that game, and they showed I think she took the opening face off, and it was like, wow.
Yeah,
like,
just the
towering.
statue is just whoa. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. But she's an awesome person. So yeah, it was so good to see her score. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Erica, no worries. I was wondering, there was a lot of controversy that the arena wouldn't be finished on time. And how was it? I know I've heard comments about the score clock like being so small it should be like sponsored by Specsavers or like the Hubble telescope. But what was it like? What was the rink like in terms of
so actually the women's all of the women's games have been played in the other rink. So there's two rinks actually. There's the main rink that everyone was talking about, the construction being, delayed. And then the women, so Team Japan and Team France played in the smaller rink. That rink was like some sort of makeshift arena, kind of in the middle of a warehouse sort of deal. Like, it was all good and great. Like on TV, it looks great. And like the stands are great. But when you come out of it, when we went to go wait for the athletes after, it very much feels like a warehouse, and they just have things blocked off for like the athlete area and the dressing rooms. The next day we did go to Italy versus Sweden. I guess that would have been on Saturday. And that's when we went to the main arena. Beautiful. I will say beautiful. The outside of it, incredible. They've done a great job. When you get inside, all is well until you go inside and you can just see that they've tarped off the one end of the rink with just black tarps because they obviously weren't able to finish all of the seats. So just on the one end of the arena, it's just all blacked off, but they have the Olympic rings and everything. So it looks polished and like, okay. I will say I did see a picture of the rink as it was being built, and everyone was like, oh, like, look at that screen. They doubled that in size from that picture. So they had the one little square you saw at the top, and then they doubled it. So there's one underneath. So it looks a little bit bigger. Like,
oh, that's good.
And it doesn't look like not very good. Like, it looks like purposeful and like, it's good. So I think it's a nice arena. It's too bad they couldn't have all of the seats, because I think that would have made it just that much better. But I think it's great. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what are your friends' chances, like Finland or Japan, maybe more Finland, I would say, and even anyone that on Sweden, what are their chances of an upset? Because I know that the perennial powers are Canada and the United States. Is there a chance for a big upset at these games?
I think, for women's hockey, I think it's always Canada, US. And then, Finland is a 2-time Olympic bronze medalist. So I think they're always in the mix. Sweden does have a good team. I will say that. I think Sweden right now is playing in the B tournament, the B division. So they don't play, in the round robin. So I think they will probably come out on top for sure for that, their pool. But we'll see. I think when you play in the two different pools, I think the speed of the game is very different. And so when you come out of your pool and you play up, I think that's maybe where you'll see if Sweden can keep up. Japan historically has had a great team. I think so far, I think they've won one and lost two. Italy very much is surpassing all expectations as the host team. You never would have thought, oh, Italian women's hockey, ooh, so good. They have now won 2 games in their pool and very much are exceeding expectations and like doing very well. So I think in terms of like a medal maybe for them, I mean, who knows, but I think they're really being very successful right now as a team. So in terms of an upset, who knows? The Czechs are very good too. The Czechs, Finland, Sweden, they're all in the mix. Kind of who knows who will take the bronze. I mean, I'm assuming it'll be Canada, US in the final. So we'll see.
I was just wondering if the rest of the world is inching closer, catching Canada and the US. Like if that gap is closing a little bit.
Yeah, I would say yes. I would say there's definitely been some improvement over here. I think Finland has always been up there in terms of their caliber of hockey. I think the Czechs have come a long way and like are oftentimes in close games with those top teams, and then sometimes they win like at World Championships or whatever. I think it'll be very interesting to see Canada versus US in these Olympics, because it seems as though the US are the favorites to win this year, which is not usually the norm. So we will see. We just got news today that Marie-Philippe Poulin won't be playing in this round robin game because she got injured. So that's another blow for Canada, but we'll see what happens. But I mean, I guess going into the games, the US has a pretty young team and a lot of college players, and Canada went more so for experience and, you know, the names you've seen before. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think women's hockey in general has come a long way. Yeah.
Erica, you're obviously focused on the hockey, but overall the Olympics are just such a spectacular kind of thing to watch and so exciting. And so when you were making your scarves, you didn't just focus on hockey players. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, so I do have, when I stepped away from hockey to pursue track cycling, I met a girl by the name of Kelsey Mitchell. And she had won Olympic gold at the Tokyo, oh gosh, I better get this right, Tokyo 2020 Olympics in track cycling. And she had done that because she came out of college and was a soccer player, went through a program called the RBC Training Ground that looks for athletes with Olympic potential in Canada, had some pretty good numbers on some different tests she did. She got into cycling, excelled immediately. Within 3 years, she won Olympic gold. So I thought, yeah, I could do it too. So,
well, and Erica, we'll talk about that journey in just a moment, but you came darn close. So anyway, we'll continue with your story.
Right. Yes. And so I was actually got the opportunity to train alongside her. You know, a little bit, maybe a year into my 2-year stint of cycling, and we hit it off right from the start. I got the chance to go down to California with her and train, and we were very similar mindset in terms of just high performance and just like the grind and just like wanting to be the best athletes. And so she helped me so much with learning cycling in general, but also just the mindset you need to be an individual athlete, because cycling was so different than hockey. But she also understood that transition because she was a soccer player. Yeah, we became very, very good friends. And she actually went to the Paris Olympics and competed as a cyclist, just like normal. And then out of Paris, she felt like she needed a bit of a change. And so she thought, why not change sports again. So that girl then went on to try speed skating at first. She tried speed skating for a little bit, went through that whole process and found that she didn't really love it that much, but bobsled reached out and said, you know, your power numbers are really good. Let's see if you can push a sled down a hill. And what do you know? She's currently on Team Canada at the Winter Olympics. Her first push camp was in, I want to say, June of last year. And she went down the hill, I think, for the first time in October or November. And she is now representing Canada at the Olympics. So
wow.
A bit of a trend for her, you know? So one of my scarves I made a Canada scarf with her name, Kelsey Mitchell. And so I thought it would be funny to go around Milan and just take a bunch of photos of me holding this scarf. And I mean, no one knows who Kelsey Mitchell is, seemingly, maybe in the crowd. But, and you know, it was too bad actually, because we were in Milan and the sliding sports are all in Cortina, which was hours away. And like, you know, it was tough to get there. And so, yeah, she's in the mountains. So I wasn't able to see her, but I was letting people know who to cheer for.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
yeah,
cool.
I mean, that's one thing about these games. In an attempt to keep the costs down, they didn't, you know, build all new venues everywhere. They used existing venues but it's spread out. So like I think Erica, you said it was like a 9-hour train ride or something like that. And then on top of that, I heard they did actually have some disruptions with their train travel in northern Italy. So, you know, there would have been some complications there, even if you would have tried to get out there to watch Kelsey. Now, I know you took lots of pictures, and Dale, you know, we'll post those up on our Facebook page. You tried to set up a Facebook page under Everyday Hockey, but Facebook said no. So then our good friend Everett A. Hockey stepped up.
Yeah, Everett
and
just a super human being.
So we'll put a link in the comments, and you know, you can click on that and maybe see some of Erica's photos from the Olympics, which we appreciate your sharing with us, Erica. Let's go back to your experience as an athlete, and Erica, you know what? You know, I obviously had a front row seat for a lot of your personal experiences as an athlete. I actually remember one incident. I'll tell two quick stories. One, when you were about 3 years old, we got you out on skates, and you were really good at walking on skates. You would, you know, the typical toddler, you'd walk around on your skates. Had never glided. And then I remember it was a really, really windy day, and then we had an outdoor rink close to our house. And I took you out there and I set you up on one side of the rink, and I said, "Don't move. Don't step, just stand there." And the wind blew you across the ice. So that was the first time you glided on skates, which was exciting. And the second thing I remember, and Erica, I think it says something about your tenacity as an athlete. You came home from school and you were, I think, in about grade 3. So, you know, like 7, 8 years old or whatever. And you came home and you had massive blisters on the palms of your hands. And I said to you, "Erica, what is going on?" And you were kind of a little bit weepy because your hands were hurting so bad. And I said, "What happened there? How did you get that?" And you said, "The monkey bars." And I said, "Well, stop doing the monkey bars." And you said, "I can't."
Oh yeah.
So I mean, you've had tenacity as an athlete, and I know. I think actually it was me that sent you the link, the original RBC training ground thing, where they were, you know, looking for alternate athletes, people who weren't in that particular sport, but who had some really great numbers physically and that kind of thing. And so you tried out in Winnipeg. You tried again a second time in Winnipeg, I believe. Then you went to Sweden to play hockey. Then you came back from Sweden and came to Regina, and we drove you up to Saskatoon. You competed again in the RBC training ground program, and your numbers just kept getting better and better and better. And then you were recognized for those. And then you had an opportunity to try out track cycling. And I remember the day that you packed up your car and drove to Edmonton, you were going to train for track cycling, and it was quite a remarkable thing, And as a parent of a team player, we wondered, okay, well, what is this going to be like? Tell us a little bit about your journey from team sport to individual sport.
So I came back from hockey. I knew I was leaving, and I had this gut feeling that I needed to try something new, and I really had to go for it, or else there would be some regret. So I came back and, set things in motion and was like, you got to move to Edmonton. They have a great program out there, a great coach. So I packed up all my stuff and I drove to Edmonton, and I got there the first day and I knew nothing, absolutely nothing about this sport that I was now going to try to go to the Olympics in. So I did not know.
Why did you choose cycling? Like, what was the impetus there for you to choose cycling?
Based on my numbers, which, in this program you do like vertical jump, broad jump, you do max watt bike test, you do some sprinting.
Yeah.
Anyways, so based on those numbers, I had talked to Rowing Canada and Cycling Canada, and my thought process was, I've been on a bike way more than I've ever been in a rowing boat. So it seemed a little bit more natural for me to cycle my way to the Olympics, So I chose cycling and I thought, yeah, this will be good. Like, I know how to ride a bike. I got there the first day. I did not realize that the bikes do not have brakes. So the bikes do not have brakes. I was out there at a facility, the Argyle Velodrome in Edmonton, a concrete angled track. And my coach said, well, you have to learn how to pedal. And I was like, you're joking. Like, what? What do you mean? Yeah, I very quickly learned, this is not hockey. We're not side to side with our shoulders. Cyclists need to be, aero and tight, and you just burn your legs off. And so I got out there, and I can't say I loved it the first day, I'll be honest. But I stuck with it because I committed, and just like I committed to piano lessons when I was younger, I was not allowed to quit, so it was ingrained in me. So yeah, I got there, and I will say, after some time learning the ropes and the basics, it started to come a little bit more natural. But my perspective on individual athletes and cyclists in general, wow. The mental fortitude you need to have as an individual athlete, no matter the sport, incredible. I was so used to being on a team where, you show up to the rink and maybe it's not your day, but you've got like 20 other girls around you to pick you up and, help you out. When I got there, it was me and my bike. And when you get to the line to race, it's you and your bike, and that's it. And like, you have to answer to yourself. So the details of every day became insane. Just, everything had to be perfect. And I was told that. And, my coach, I heard him talk to other, athletes that were interested in cycling. And he said, you got to love it. You got to love it because it's too hard if you don't. And I thought, I do. I love to train, and I do. But I think in the end, I realized that I like to do other forms of fitness. And when cycling was the training, but it was also the sport, which I wasn't used to, because hockey has so many different ways of training. And then when, you can ride the bike for training and then go on the ice and then shoot some pucks around and like compete in the corner. That became pretty tough. And I also think hockey to cycling, hockey, you're playing almost every weekend, maybe sometimes 2 games a week. Cycling, you are training for 6 months, and then you have one chance on the line on a Friday at 11 a.m. and you got 30 seconds to go around as fast as you can, and then that's it.
I think you did really well in it because I remember seeing you on a television ad
Yes. Yeah.
for the
Um,
RBC training. That was pretty cool. And I remember your dad had mentioned to me that you had trained with former Seattle Seahawk and TSN analyst Luke Wilson, who was
that is
just in the
correct.
limelight with the Super
Yes.
Bowl.
That is correct. Now, I will say that TSN ad, RBC Training Ground, selects certain individuals to sort of highlight. And because I tried that program 4 separate times. So they're like, this girl just won't go away. We might as well give her a commercial. So they highlighted me just the beginning of everything a little bit. And so there were people that saw it on TSN, which was pretty cool. Very interesting experience for me because I'm a little bit more of a reserved person in general. So for me to just tell the world I want to go to the Olympics, just, a little bit spooky, but, I did it and I was all in. In terms of training with Luke, so the first time that I went to train with Kelsey in California, he was coming out of football. And he had retired. He played with the Seahawks. I think his NFL career was 8 or 9 seasons. And he was looking for something to fill that void of, hard-hitting football and just the energy and just like the grind. So he found cycling. I think he's 6'5". He's a massive guy. And he found cycling. And I will say the 3 of us had a blast. And very similar personalities, such a hype guy. When you watch him on TSN, the energy he exudes just positivity, and he's just like, let's go, let's be the best. And that's what it was at all times. And then with Kelsey there too, she's similar. And I was just like, where am I? This is the best thing ever. So it was quite the mix. And he's such a good guy. He's done so many good things for football, but just even in the cycling community too. I think he has his own cycling club that he started. So he's all out and about doing all the things. But that was a great experience. And just what a character. What a guy.
That's really cool. I was thinking he's already just naturally a high energy guy, and now he's doing ads for nerds. So if he's taking any of those, he's having a bit of a sugar high. It must be interesting.
Yeah, totally.
I wanted to ask you about your journey, because in terms of your hockey, I remember watching you at the University of Alberta when you would come to town and play against the Pandas when you were playing for the University of Winnipeg Bisons, and you were part of a championship team, and I think that's the first time in how many years that U of W won like the U Sports championship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I committed to the Bisons. I think it must have been my grade 12 year, and I had different options to go different places, but I committed to Manitoba just based on, their program was very enticing. It was also away from home, but not too far. And
I was going to say this about Erica. She was the girl who I used to pick up at 11 o'clock every night when she would go on a sleepover. And at about 11, we'd get a call. Yeah, okay, I'll come and get her, because she didn't want to leave home.
Yeah, I was very much a homebody. And so I made my way 6 hours down the number 1 to Winnipeg. And what an experience that was. Best decision I made to go there. We had such a good group. We had 10 rookies in my first year. So we were kind of, looked at as, well, we'll see, a bit of a gamble. And we ended up winning nationals in my 4th year. Incredible experience. That team I really think was the result of, everyone being dialed in. Like the focus was insane. And our coaches, the people we had on our team, we had Venla Hovey. She was at the time on the Finnish national team. She had come to Manitoba to to go to university and play with us, and her expertise and just coming from Europe and showing us the ways. I mean, we were 19, 20, 21 years old. And at that time, I think she was 27 maybe. And she had all of this experience. And I remember being on that team and people kind of being like, she was doing some extra warm-up stuff, or she was doing like before practice, she would go off and like do some, agility or like coordination. And I remember like some of us were like, why, like, what is she doing? Like, what, it's an extra. And like now being here in Europe and like understanding, high performance and like all of the extra details you need to be like an elite player. I think she elevated our game big time. And yeah, we ended up going to Western and we won nationals. And yeah, still to this day, one of the best moments of my career. So yeah.
What was that feeling like to win, and then even to come back to the university after the university hadn't won in years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That feeling of we did it.
Yeah, we finally did it. I think we played 2 games, and then you in that tournament, essentially you just have to win every game. Like you can't lose a game or else you're pretty much out of the gold medal. And we played Concordia in the semifinal, and it went to I want to say overtime or a shootout, one of the two. And they were like one of the favorites to win. They had a really strong team, and we ended up beating them in the semifinal. And I think after that game, we kind of knew, like the feeling in the dressing room, the energy everyone had. It was like we were very confident going into the final. So we actually played Western, the host team, in the final. And you walk out into that rink, and I mean, it was all Western fans with some Manitoba families. And yeah, the energy was just crazy. But I don't even know what the score was, but it was like 3-1 maybe or something. And yeah, when we finally won, it was just, the culmination of a year of just, I mean, you at that point, you could have said 4 years of really intentional training and coaching and just focus to a point where you win it all. And it was, it was pretty special. And then we got back to the university, and, so many things. We got to go on the ice for the Canada at the Jets game. They invited us. Yeah. So we got to stand there, and everyone, they had our little, video montage kind of thing before, and everyone was cheering for us. And it was like, whoa, like just mind blowing. So yeah, so many cool moments from that one. But yeah, just so awesome. And like the university and all the students were really excited for us. So yeah.
Erica, you also had an opportunity to represent Team Canada at the FISU Games, so the World University Games. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so I was named to Team Canada for the FISU Games 17, I think. We went to Kazakhstan. Mm-hmm. What an experience that was. We went to Almaty, Kazakhstan, and very interesting experience, just, landing in that country. And they had built an athletes village. I think at that point they were trying to, make these games sort of in a way to get a bid for the Olympics, I guess, with like make sure that it's like super successful, and then maybe they could get a bid. Anyway, so the athletes village was insane. They had all of the buildings with all of the flags, the athletes village, all the things. We had major security, which was very interesting. But I will say, just being named to a Team Canada was wild. I remember putting on the jersey for the first time, and like you see your name on a Canada jersey, and I think that was like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, this is wild. I mean, you dream of that from when you're little, and then you finally have a jersey with your name on it on Team Canada. So, really cool experience. I think what we lost in the final to. Yeah,
you lost in the final. Now, if I remember correctly, Erica, you know what I'm going to say, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened was you guys lost to the Russians, in the final. And interestingly enough, the Russian team in the World University Games was also the same Russian team that played in the Olympics. So they basically took their Olympic team, enrolled them in some classes, and said, "Okay, now you go to the World University Games and you win that. It's good practice."
Anyways, I mean, they're good hockey players.
Oh yeah, they were good hockey players.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, we came away with a medal, and yeah, it was a great experience. And I don't know if Kazakhstan would have been on my list of places to visit ever, but I've been there now, and yeah, it was cool. So
I just wanted to mention something about growing up in sport, Erica. You had your experiences in a variety of different sports and all that kind of thing, and as you progressed a little bit farther and farther down the line, finances have always been a thing. And I when I look at the Olympics, our own personal experience as parents of elite athletes gives us a sense of something that might be a little bit different than the average person, because you've seen the glitz and the glamour and the lights and the buildings and all that kind of thing, and you say, wow, how amazing for those athletes to get there. But what a struggle, physically, emotionally, financially, because really the one major sponsor of the Olympics, regardless of like you look out there and you say, well, what is it? Well, it's that financial institution called the Bank of Mom and Dad. And so many athletes have had their careers built through the support of their families. And Erica, you had sort of the fortitude to reach out to others and get some sponsors and all that kind of thing. How did you find the difference between that individual sport and then going back to hockey, where you were kind of looked after?
Yeah, that was a struggle that I wasn't maybe prepared for necessarily. On the mental side of things, it's just an added layer to an already difficult thing you're trying to do. I was lucky enough, as part of the RBC training ground, you are named a RBC Future Olympian. So you do get some funding through them, which was very helpful. But at the end of the day, I mean, I also very quickly realized that cycling is so expensive. Hockey, I very much am aware, is an expensive sport. But for cycling, I thought, well, what do you need? You need a bike and a pair of shoes and a helmet. Like, really? And then I realized, oh, yeah, like people build their bikes with like different components, and they buy, a stem for $250, and then their helmet is $350. But then when you're racing, you need an aero helmet and you need a skin suit, and there's different types of skin suits and all of the things. Your bike, I mean, there's so many different types of bike frames and, racing wheels and all of the things. So the financial side of things was pretty tough. And I also think, people very much don't realize what Olympic athletes, especially individual athletes or sports that are not so mainstream, really have to go through to make their dreams a reality. So when you see these athletes on TV, they've done a lot more than just, train really hard. They've, made connections and tried to find sponsors and had second jobs and done all of the things to make it work. And so, I think it's tough. It's tough out there, but hopefully it gets better, but definitely coming back to hockey and being, within established organizations and being a paid professional athlete, that gets rid of a lot of the struggle of like finances and trying to figure out what you're going to do. And cycling training in general, they tell you, you need to train, and you go put yourself in a hole in terms of pain and just like training, and like you just deplete yourself. And then they say, okay, now you need to recover. Okay. So recover as in be on the couch, don't do anything, get off your feet. So it's like, well, don't go like walking around the grocery store, like get off your feet. You need to recover. And so it's hard to even do anything outside of cycling training when you're like dead all the time. And then if you don't recover, then the next day's training is even worse, and then there's no improvement happening. So it's a balancing act, and you really have to figure out creative ways to sort of financially get by and try to pursue your dreams. So
now, Erica, you went you played 3 years in Sweden through the pandemic. You took 2 years off, and then you were able to go back to hockey. And I remember that, you had set your sights on the Los Angeles Olympics. I mean, you did amazing, really. I mean, you have medals in the Canadian Championships and stuff like that in cycling. And then you said, okay, I was 0.015 seconds away from making the national cycling team. So be it. I'm going to go back to hockey, because you didn't feel like you were finished yet. And then you reached out to Luleå, one of the top teams, obviously, won many championships in the Swedish league. And then you went back there. I remember you telling me that there was such a huge difference between your contract financially with Luleå compared to your previous team. It must have been a bit of a relief.
I mean, in many aspects, it was a relief. I think I got to the end of the cycling experience, and I knew in my gut it was time to move on. I felt like I did everything I could, but mentally I was just not in it. And, back to when my coach said, you have to love it in order to do this. And I didn't love it anymore. So I had made the decision to try and go back to hockey. Luckily, I had some former teammates that played for Luleå and sort of got me in the door in terms of like talks with them. I was very upfront with them on the call and said, I am well aware that I have not played hockey for 2 years. So I was very honest and said, I know I probably won't be the most skilled. I absolutely won't be the most skilled, but I can work freaking hard, and I will play any role you want me to play. If you need me to be 7th D and an energy person in the dressing room, fine, that's okay. I was desperate to get back to team sport, and I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it so badly that I was like, whatever, just give me whatever. Like, so, and it wasn't that I hadn't trained for 2 years. Like I was still an athlete. It just wasn't on skates. So, when I got back to Sweden, the contract was much better than I had before, but Luleå also was well known in the league for compensating their players pretty well. So that was like an added bonus. But you know what? Bottom line, I was happy to be back skating, like on the ice. You ask my teammates that first year, I didn't stop smiling every day. Like it didn't matter what we were doing. And I was just like so happy to be back with a group of hockey players in the dressing room. There's so many little things that I think I gave the perspective to athletes that, there's a lot of girls that have been here for 4, 5, 6 years already. And, the everyday grind you get a little bit complacent with things. And I came in like a puppy. Like I was like, this is the best ever. We have a kitchen in our dressing room. We have ham and cheese sandwiches after workout in the morning. This is so good. and so I think they were like, it was like an influx of new energy and kind of just like, okay, like calm down a little bit. But I was just like the happiest person ever. And I can't say my first 2 weeks of practices were questionable. I would shoot the puck in the corner and not hit the net, you know. And my coaches did say we had a meeting like a little ways into the season, and they said, yeah, I'll be honest, we were watching you, and we were like, what did we just do? But they were like, you know, you picked it up pretty quick. And I figured I would. Like, it's not like it's like riding a bike. You don't just forget, you know. So I picked it up pretty good, but I knew deep down my personality, my work ethic will take me very far. And fitness wise, I'm a gym fanatic. And so I showed up to camp very much in shape. And like, I was like, I know I can control that part of it. And on the ice, I will do my best. And for sure, over the past 2 years, I've gotten way better. And that's thanks to obviously being around and playing alongside just such elite athletes. So yeah, it's been a good experience to be back for sure.
You know, I wanted to ask you about, I think Sweden has club team system kind of thing. And is that men's too? Are you guys connected to men's programs? Like, is that?
Yeah. So I would say almost all of the teams in my league are the women's side of a hockey club that also has a men's team and a very established men's team. So yeah. So same with my old team. I used to play for Mudo Hockey. They had their men's team, and then they allocate a certain amount of funding and sponsorship money to the women's side. And so then we have our program. Lulea here is, I mean, I would say the best in the league in terms of conditions for the women's team. And they fought really hard to make things equal in terms of, you know, the men's team flies to all of their games, as do we. You know, they've done a really good job of, I mean, I think at this point, I think last year was the first year that the women's side was self-sufficient in terms of finances, and we're bringing in enough money to, you know, and didn't have to dip into the men's side. For pretty much all of the teams in our league, except for maybe one, they have a men's team as well in the club. So.
And I was wondering about like when you go play other teams and maybe have some rivalries, are the crowds pretty great, like in terms of intensity? Are they like maybe a senior hockey league in Unity, Saskatchewan on a Friday night where the rink is packed and everybody hates you if you're on the opposite team?
You know what? I have heard about those senior men's games in Saskatchewan, actually just recently, because there's a guy here in Lulea that is from Manitoba, and he was saying he's heard about the Saskatchewan League, and it's nuts.
I used to play I played in it. And
okay, yeah. It's a big deal. For those small towns, it's a big deal. Yeah.
It was like, oh, look at this.
Yeah. I will say that's an area where we could definitely improve as a league. Maybe marketing a little bit more. Lulea, I think, probably gets the most fans for the women's side. I wouldn't say in no way it compares to the men's games that happen. I mean, here in Europe, the SHL, like they're pretty much selling out every game. And they've got, you know, the fan section with the drummer and they're chanting all the time. We do not have that. That's why I think it's very appealing what the PWHL is doing in North America, and they're selling out, you know, the Bell Center and just like major arenas, and they have tens of thousands of people. Sweden does not get those crowds, point blank. I mean, unless maybe it's playoffs. So hopefully in the future, hopefully in the future. But yeah, if you come here and you go to a men's game, there is a lot of energy. Definitely. Yeah.
That's cool.
Erica, you after the Olympic break, you've got a few games left, and then you're off to the playoffs. Lulea has been a contender year after year after year. You guys are in what position now? Are you in second place, third place, somewhere in there?
Yeah, second, I think, somewhere in the standings.
Okay. And then and what's up next in your career?
So my plan is to declare for the draft, the PWHL draft. In order to get into that league, you have to declare at least one time, max 2 times. So you declare for the draft. The draft, I'm pretty sure, is in June. From there, you either get drafted or you hope maybe you get a camp invite. Camps for PW teams are in November. They're planning. There has been word that they will be expanding again this year up to 4 teams. The word around is mostly I've heard people being like they should just expand to 4 teams now and then be done with it, and don't do 2 this year and then 2 next year. And just fans get pretty upset about losing their favorite players on their team, so just do 4 right now. So yeah, there potentially could be 4 new teams opening up in the league, so that would put them to 12. I'm pretty sure they're at 8 right now.
So our fingers are crossed for Halifax.
Yeah, Halifax is a potential. Edmonton is a potential, but there's also Denver, I think I saw, was an option. There's a couple US cities as well. So yeah, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But yeah, I just feel like I'm at the point where it's the same sort of feeling I had when I went into cycling. Might as well try. Like, let's see what happens and then go from there. So yeah, I think there would be some regret if I didn't. You know, you're leveling up in your career and it's a little bit scary, but yeah, we're all in. Here we go.
I hope you make it, because I know Upper Deck signed a deal, an exclusive deal with the PW, with the Professional Women's Hockey League, and so now they are issuing cards and stuff. So I'm hoping you get your own Upper Deck card.
Whoa,
That would
that's
be
cool.
sweet.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what, Erica, well, we won't keep you any longer, but thank you so much for giving us a little bit of time. We'll post a few things on our Everett A Hockey Facebook page, and we'll keep watching you. Now, one thing that if people don't know this, you can watch the SDHL, the Swedish Women's Hockey League. You can watch them for free on YouTube. And so the games, that remain in the season and the playoffs are all free to watch. So if you are interested to see how Erica does through the rest of the season, that's there for you.
Nice. Thanks for having me.
It's been great. It's been awesome. Yeah. Congratulations on everything. And
yes.
And man, I am hoping you make it when you come back to North America. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, yeah, the opportunity to come back to North America and play professionally is now available. And so, yeah, it's kind of like we might as well take that opportunity and try and see what happens, because, I mean, for me, this is now year 5 in Sweden, and that was really only the only option before. So, yeah, it'd be cool to come home and play in front of family and friends if that happens. So, yeah.
I want to get your hockey card so I can get your autograph. That would be
cool.
Icing on the cake for me.
You've been listening to Everyday Hockey. Don't forget to hit subscribe and check out photos connected to today's episode on the Facebook page of our good friend Everett A Hockey. See the link in the comments below.